Let's begin. We can sit quietly together, enjoy each other's arrival here in the early morning. You can rest your hands in your lap. Close your eyes if you like. And come to the posture that you feel is the most respectful to the tradition of yoga, and also helps you to be the most receptive, attentive. There's a story of a young boy on the shore. The tide is going out, and the starfish that came in with the tide are on the beach. And an older person sees the young boy tossing something into the ocean from a distance. And as he approaches the young boy, he asks, "So what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm tossing the starfish back in the ocean. The tide's going out." And the older person says to the young boy, "Well, look how long the beach is and how many hundreds of starfish are here. It won't matter." Essentially, that you can't get to them all. And so the young boy holding one starfish, he says, "Well, it matters to this one." And he tosses it back in the ocean. And it's a bit like this in so many aspects of life. So sometimes we have so many thoughts, the Ferris wheel of the mind, like I'll never quiet these things down. But actually resolving one thought or resisting one habitual, distracting, perseverating, daydreaming thought, it matters because of how it also remodels our attention. It remodels the aperture of what we put our attention onto. It's also the case in the inverse. Sometimes we say, "Oh, I have so many days to practice yoga. I have many, many years and many months. Oh, this morning I'll sleep in. It won't matter." But actually it matters. It matters because of how it then restructures your mind in that direction. So appreciating yourself for coming this morning. Perhaps your starfish mind, your vrttis, will populate and you get to work with them. Perhaps you'll have a quieter mind. Whatever comes, it's going to be a part of your practice. So please lengthen your spine. And again, refresh your posture to be that which is most respectful of the tradition and attentive to your practice this morning. And then you can bring your hands together at your heart. And breathe in deeply, breathe out completely, and then we'll chant together the Gayatri mantra. Let's begin. Om Bhurvasuvah Tatsavitorvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona prachodayata. Om Bhuvasuvaha Tatsavitorvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimāhi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Bhuvasuvaha Tatsavitorvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimāhi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. You can keep your gaze closed and bring your head up on top of your spine for pranayama. So first we're going to do bhastrika, and then we'll practice the ujjayi in the pattern that we've been doing. And we'll do some familiar things, and I'm going to add one thing for you this morning. Okay, so beginning with bhastrika from the solar plexus, please. Exhale. Inhale to suspension. Exhale completely, exhaling through both nostrils. At the end of a complete exhale where you've toned the belly, then deeply relax. Now align your posture, hands out over your knees if you can, and raise up through your collarbones. And as we've been talking about, lift the base of the skull so you have this internal sense of the Jalandhara Bandha. Your gaze can go down. Then inhaling lower, middle, upper while raising your heart, collarbones, and then your head. Ujjayi, please. It's quite a bit like coming into cow pose for the inhale. And then exhale and bring your head back down to the Jalandhara Bandha. As the exhale is leaving, your inner gaze and your exhale will pass each other inside. Again, inhale. Exhale at your own timing. So we're going to do this 5 times in total. Remember, each of the pauses of the breath is also to be respected. And again. At the end of your next exhale, when you're completing about 5 rounds of the breath, then simply bring your head back up to neutral. Relax your arms. Sit in the echo. Now interlace your fingers, and this is also familiar to most of you. So interlace your fingers, gazing down. We're going to inhale slowly forward and up. And exhale, elbows wide. Pull the elbows apart as you bring the pinkies, the side of your pinkies, down to the base of the skull. Inhale, raising the breath up from the lower, middle, upper. Sweep your elbows forward and up. And exhale, widen your elbows. Bring your gaze and your head into Jalandhara Bandha. Press the base of the skull back and up into your pinkies. Level your head. Inhale, left elbow forward, right elbow up. Twisting to the right. Exhale to center. Inhale, right elbow forward, left elbow up. Twisting to your left. Exhale to center. Inhale to go up. Exhale, arms wide. Bring your hands down to interlace at the small of your back. Inhale, roll your shoulders back. Raise your breath up. Lift your heart, your collarbones, your chin. Open your eyes if you like. And then exhale, keep the shoulders back as you bring your head into Jalandhara Bandha. And then inhale to go up again. And exhale, return your hands to your lap. Bring your head and your torso to neutral. And now kappalabhati, strong exhale through the nose. Let's begin. Exhale through the nose, exhale completely. Inhale, lower, middle, and upper, coming up to Jalandhara Bandha. Exhale through both nostrils. Deeply relax. Okay, so now we're going to do kappalabhati, and I'd like you to place your hands at the sides of the rib cage. So what you're doing there is right about here. So the kappalabhati is going to be at the solar plexus in the center, but roll the shoulders back and resist the urge to push the rib cage forward so that you're sitting in this cylinder that is the torso. Let's try it again. So shoulders gently back so that you're also not tipping the upper torso forward with each exhale. Exhale completely. Now inhale, raise your hands lower, middle, upper, inhaling fully. Suspend the inhale, rest your hands on top of your head. Exhale completely, lowering your hands down, and you can rest the hands as the palms face up in your lap. Now bring your right hand up and rest your thumb and your ring finger at the bridge of the nose. We're going to do 4 rounds of Nadi Shodhana and see what that does now to bring the mind into the place where the starfish can be tossed back to the ocean. The vrttis can go back and you get to remain more in your equanimity inside. Begin with inhale left, please. Use a brief pause at the top of your inhale and the bottom of your exhale, and do your best to bring the inhale and exhale into balance with each other. Finish with your next exhale, left. And now bringing this quality of mind, hopefully it's a peaceful quality of mind. We want to bring this with us. Please come up to standing. We're going to go to prasarita padottanasana. By the way, it's helpful to have a yoga strap for this morning's practice. Taking a wide stance and come down to prasarita padottanasana. And when you come down, check that your feet are about the same length apart as one length of leg for you. So this is an equilateral triangle. All sides are equal. And I'm going to ask you to go foot, hand, foot on your fingertips. You could put blocks under your hands if you need them. When you inhale, bring your spine forward so the breath is lower, middle, upper. Rise up to your fingertips and make like a cow pose spine. And when you exhale, make like a cat pose spine and curl down towards the space between your legs. Press your palms flat. Again, putting your hands on blocks if you need to. So breathing in. You're going to go with the pace of a long, smooth breath, which will be slower than sometimes the mind wants to go. But remembering that your mind is kind of given a pace by your breath and your body, in as much as your mind can also affect the pace of your breath and your body. So if you can use the breath here to have a little leadership over your mind. One more time, inhale to glide forward. Rise up onto your fingertips like a cow pose spine. Now walk your hands forward and again be on your fingertips, please. As you reach your hips strongly back, turn the toes very slightly out, bend your knees and try to take the hips back behind your knees. So as you bend your knees, you're sitting down like there's a little stool or a bench waiting for your hips. Now in this position, inhale, glide your spine forward. So you're gonna have to really find the upper back and the thoracic spine before your chin, please. Don't only move the chin. And then exhale and release your spine to flexion and gaze back behind the back edge of your yoga mat. Again, inhale, glide forward. So what we did here with the hands, arms, legs, hips, is we've really promoted a flexion spine. And to get that thoracic extension, you have to concentrate on moving your low thoracic, mid thoracic, upper thoracic spine. And again, please do that before you move your chin. So your chin only comes forward if the thoracic spine has made its movement. Let's do it one more time. Inhale to glide forward. And then exhale and straighten both legs. Make your feet parallel again. Place your palms flat. And balance your head between your upper arms. You walk your hands back towards your hips and please rise up to standing. Now from a standing position, take your hands to the top of your ilium bones here, and then try to glide your left hip high and your right hip low. And you might find that you sense the upper inner right thigh. So we are tipping. We haven't moved the feet though. And then try going the other way. You won't have a lot of range of motion. Your body's not designed for that here, so please don't judge yourself if it doesn't seem like you're going very far. Let's inhale, go left. Notice the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the pelvic floor. Exhale, go right. See if you can sense the change occurring as you pass the responsibility to the right. And then again, inhale to your left. And exhale to the right. So your feet are a part of how you're steering this experience. So is the pelvis, and then your mind and your breath coordinating the pace. Last time, inhale left. And exhale to your right. Of course, you can go the other way too. You could say exhale left and inhale right. Bring your pelvis to center. Come on down. Place your fingertips. Now take your hips to your right. So the right hip's going to be high and the left hip will seem a little bit low. You ought to feel like you have more range of motion because now you're in flexion. Please bend your right knee. Walk to your right with your fingertips. And for those who'd like, you can use blocks for this, or you can just place your left forearm on the floor, which I say with such ease. And remember that I'm not that tall and I have flexible hips and hamstrings. So your spine is going to be in flexion here. Keep the left inner thigh long and strong. And as you bend your right knee, you're sitting back behind as if there's a little stool waiting for your right hip and your left hip. You take a deep breath in and see how the pelvic floor receives your inhalation. Now exhale, press into your right heel and start driving your pelvis back to center, but keep your hands where they are. Raise your left hip high. And now glide your pelvis again to the right. Once your right hip is high, then bend your right knee and sit back down. Breathe into the pelvic floor. Exhale, press into your right heel and glide your hips up. Straighten your right leg, glide your hips to your left. And then inhale, glide your hips to the right again. And last one, exhale, bend your right knee, sit your hips back and down. Inhale to the pelvic floor. And exhale, root into your right heel and let that be the initiation to glide your hips up and wide to your left. And then walk your hands back to center. And go ahead and center your pelvis. Okay, now the other side. If it helps you, you can turn the left toes really slightly out so your ankle is not going to be problematic. Bend your left knee, walk your hands to your left. You may place your right forearm on your blocks or on the floor. Let's just get acclimated for a couple breath cycles. When you bend your left knee like this, we are keeping the left heel on the floor, so it's not that your hips come down to the deepest possible place. Keep the right inseam of your leg strong and long.
Let's breathe into the pelvic floor. And then exhale, press into your left heel and slowly straighten your left leg, keeping your hands and right elbow where they are. Raise your right hip high. And then again, gliding to your left. Bend your left knee as you sit down, root into your left outer heel. Breathe in. Exhale, root, so your hips are going to rise. Glide to your left with your inhalation. Exhale to sit down. And glide again through the process that is your range of motion with your breath and your body speaking with each other. And here's the last one. So as you rise up to center this time, go ahead and make your feet parallel, walk your hands back to center, and let's go heel toe to center until you're in Uttanasana with your feet. Release your torso and the weight of your head and the thoughts. And imagine the vrttis going back to the ocean. Place your hands on your hips, root down into your heels and toes, and rise up to standing. Please step to the front of your mat for Surya Namaskar. So if I'm permitted to mix metaphors with you, I would say that we could imagine that these starfish, they're not real starfish. Let's say they're starfish, they're made of salt. So you toss this thought back into the ocean and it dissolves like salt does in the ocean. And the ocean is like grace and love, so it can transform that thought. It can help it to dissolve away. Join your hands at your heart. And even if you have hundreds of thoughts, transforming one thought is very powerful. Resolving it or releasing it does matter. Okay, let's use ujjayi breathing, please. Inhale, sweep your hands down, wide and up. Thank you. Exhale, chair pose. Bend your knees and take a seat. Inhale, rise up, upward hands pose. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward. Exhale, left toes back. Keep your left heel lifted for this one. Inhale, rise, crescent lunge. Exhale, airplane pose, hovering over but not touching your right thigh, please. Inhale, rise up, crescent. Exhale, airplane. Keep the left big toe, inner thigh, left side of the pelvis steady. Inhale, rise up, root from your outer right hip to your outer right heel. Good. One more time. Airplane pose. Once more, inhale to rise. And now exhale, glide forward and lightly touch the two blocks. Okay, pivot your left heel to be parallel with the back edge of your mat, but keep your right thigh and knee facing forward. Now take your blocks on a half circle to your left. Place your right hand up against your right thigh, or your right knee, you can say. As you inhale, Lengthen through your torso and try to make a little extension spine. And as you exhale, root down from your outer right hip to your outer right knee to your outer right heel. Come into your flexion spine. Now when you inhale and you're bringing the spine into extension, it's really your thoracic spine that I'm most interested in here. And then your chin can come forward. And then exhale, refresh the action at your right outer hip and sitting bone. And bring your spine into flexion. One more time, please. Inhale, glide forward. And last one, exhale, deeply bow. The torso, take your gaze back underneath your warrior two hip. And then walk your blocks around to bookend. Pivot your left heel up and please step forward. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Let's exhale, release to Uttanasana. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Rise up to your fingertips. Exhale, right foot back and keep the right heel lifted for now. Inhale, glide up, crescent lunge. Yeah. And then airplane pose. So remember from last week, all the instruction about the outer hip near the trochanter and the inner thigh at the back leg. So as you come up, keep your legs stable. Same thing when you're coming over to airplane pose. Check the strength from your right big toe to your upper inner thigh, left outer hip to your outer heel. We could call the other word we could use as the tone. We don't have to always think of strength so much as the tone of those muscles. One more time, going up. And exhale, glide. As you come down, lightly touch the two blocks without your left hip jostling about. Pivot your right heel to be parallel to the back of your mat. Walk your hands in a half circle. And then place your left hand up against your left knee or your inner thigh. Okay, let's come to that cat pose idea first. And then inhale, glide your heart forward, thoracic spine, and then your throat and your chin. And exhale, like a cat pose spine. Inhale, glide forward. So really the outer left hip, you might have to refresh it because the mind wanders or the body gets forgetful when the mind wanders, but it's not actually a changing action. So when you come forward here in cow pose, I'm not asking you to take the sitting bones back, but really to keep your pelvis most stable. And the movement is the spine. Let's go one more time forward. And one more time, like a cat pose. And then take your blocks and you can walk them around to bookend your left foot. This time, let's step backwards to downward dog pose, please. And inhale forward, come to plank pose. Keeping your left leg stable, exhale, bring your right knee to the outside of your right elbow. Notice how you have to keep the left big toe, left inner thigh strong. Your hips should not be sashaying off to the right. Step the right toes back. And then bring your left knee up to the outside of your left elbow. The hips do not sashay to the left. Step back, plank pose, and then downward facing dog pose. Inhale forward to plank. Exhale, right knee up. Keep the left leg strong. Inhale to plank. Exhale, left knee up. Inhale to plank. And exhale, downward facing dog. And now exhale, step your awkward foot forward. Step the other foot forward. Uttanasana. Inhale, rise up. Tone your inner arches, inner thighs, the center line of the spine. And then exhale to the heart. And now standing on your left foot, please bring your right foot up to tree pose. So it's a little bit like having the kappalabhati and then the nadi shodhana. You have this somewhat heating practice and then tree pose. If you tone your left outer hip and imagine a line that goes from the outer left hip, those muscles we talked about last week, but let's imagine this line of energy that goes through the pelvis and through the right upper inner thigh, out to your right knee, the right thigh like a telescope, reaching out from your hip to your kneecap. You can raise the arms up if you have your balance. And take the arms a little bit wide. Bend your left knee like you're going to come down into like a nataraj, or almost like you're going to do chair pose mixed with your tree pose. Keep the left outer hip steady. And then going up on your way down. And place the right foot. Find the stability from your right outer hip and thigh. Bring your left leg up to tree pose. And then join your hands together. So find the tone of your right outer hip. Again, it's like a little bit of a heating practice and then something more steady. A little quieter, requiring your mental focus. Energize from your right outer hip across the belly and out through your left inner thigh to your left kneecap. You can raise the arms if you like. You can try bending your right knee so you're sitting down like a Shiva Nataraj. Take the arms out. Now it's less of a cooling pose, right? And you have the likelihood of generating some vrttis, some thoughts. And rise up. On your way down, place the left foot. Relax both arms. Pause to stand in mountain pose. So we're going to go back to a practice from last week. This does become more cooling now, more grounding. I like to have 2 blocks and a strap, and this is going to be for your pelvis and your hips, and it's my hope that it helps you with the pranayama that we'll do to finish class. I also want it to be, enjoyable for your body. So you make a loop in the strap, please. You'll need 1 block for the pose, but 2 blocks and a bit So lie on your back with your knees bent and take your yoga strap for your right foot to go up to supta padangustasana. When you put your foot up in the strap, I'm going to recommend that you take your hand under and then hold the strap. Okay, pressing up with your right leg. Try to find, when we were in the crescent lunge, I said, oh, don't forget the big toe mound and the inner thigh. And then I also referenced the outer hip and the outer heel. And this is, in both cases, you're using each of those actions here. So press up into the right big toe and tone the inner thigh. Reach from your outer right hip into your outer right heel. And then rotate your right toes and your right knee to the right. And let's see about how do you come out to the side here. Right, so many of you will have a little bit of a feeling that you're about to tip or that it's not as stable as it could be. And that's something that we worked with last week. So what I'm going to ask you to do is bring your right leg back up, take a yoga block, and put it flat next to your hip, take a little angle, and then put it under the back of the thigh bone. That's called the trochanter, the greater trochanter. And now as you go out to the side, you're going to be having several advantages. One is there's a massage. It might not feel like a massage to you, but it's where the block, the beveled edge of the block, touches the back of the trochanter, the back of your hip. It's also going to likely highlight the upper inner right thigh where there's the actual tightness. And it'll help keep your left hip more grounded. With all of those as possible benefits, close your eyes and see how the breath is now interacting with your pelvic floor. Remember, if that you slow down the breath, you help to slow down the mind. And you're less likely to kind of hoard the starfish thoughts in the mind, thinking that somehow you're going to solve them all. So bring the breath down to the pelvic floor. Let it be smooth and steady, and see what that can do for your thinking mind as well. Now pressing your right foot into the strap. Let's really slowly glide your right leg back up to center. Release your right foot from the strap and see if you can take your right leg out straight. So you're able to lower it, keeping your pelvis stable. Take this one block to the other side of your pelvis, and let's bring the strap up for the left foot, please. Reach under to clasp the two sides of your strap. You might first just do this little check and see, like, when you go out to your left, how stable or unstable does that feel? And I have a lot of range of motion, so the feeling of instability is not obvious to me until I put the block and realize what is stability. So let's take the block and slide it under the left, called the greater trochanter, the left outer hip. And as you press up through the left big toe, remind yourself the inseam and the outseam of the leg are both engaged here. Rotate your toes to your left and begin to come out slowly. So the massage that you've added to those deep six muscles, also you've added this kind of highlight to the upper inner left thigh.
My third hope is that your right hip does feel more grounded. Yeah. Just notice how the breath interacts with, how it communicates with your pelvic floor. To give the mind this subtle focus, this place for attention, we hope that the starfish thoughts, they are dissolving like salt in the ocean being greater than any one of those thoughts. And slowly, slowly rise back up. Keeping the left leg straight. See how you can lower it down using the tone of the inner belly, but hopefully also a sense of freedom that the left hip joint can glide. Now I have a special treat for you for this Shavasana before we have some pranayama to help with meditation. So this special treat is this. You'll need a sandbag. Let me get mine just a moment. So I'm using the household item called a bag of rice to show that anybody can have a sandbag. Let's take a blanket. Make it the long, narrow fold, please. Okay, so you place that, you're sitting in front of it. Put a block between your feet. Take the strap around your feet and your block. So now your legs, they cannot tip out. Bring your sandbag into position. When you lie down, then take the other block and put it under your blanket. So it's on the flat setting, like this. And then the sandbag's gonna go on your thighs. Mine's noisy, pardon me. So the sandbag goes on the top of the thighs. Tuck the shoulder blades under. So you have made this kind of Jalandhara Bandha position here. And the strap and the blocks means that your legs go straight down. This is a helpful way to reset the pelvis and the sacrum, but it also sets you up for what we call apanavayu in yoga. So let's take the arms out to the side. Relax your mind, please. If it's possible for you to do so, you can rest your mind on that which is really subtle, just the lightness of the breath, making communication with the pelvic floor. You don't have to work at making anything happen with the breath, only noticing that there is a kind of communication occurring there. Welcome your mind to stay quiet, downward and inward. We aren't evaluating or analyzing, only witnessing. Let's continue to witness and to watch for 2 more minutes, please. You're not making something happen, you are the recipient. Now, welcoming the receiving that you've been doing without disturbing the mind. Remove only the sandbag from your lap. Notice the absence of the weight of the sand. And you can loosen your feet from the strap and the block. Please bend your knees. Roll to your side. Come to your seat. Notice what is happening when you release the Support under the base of the neck from the Shavasana. When we've released the position of the legs, what happens now as you take your seat in the Mula Bandha, Jalandhar Bandha? Please bring your right hand up. We're going to inhale, suspend, and exhale, all equal. The exhale suspension will be brief. Let's begin on the left side, please. So inhale left. Suspend. You must work at your own pace. Exhale right. Brief pause, then inhale right. Continuing at your pace. You can finish with your next exhale through the left nostril. Rest your attention on one thing, one simple object for attention. So not wandering about. Encourage the mind not to wander about. Like the starfish made of salt dissolving in the ocean. It does not need to reconstitute itself. Join your hands together at your heart. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. I hope your meditation seat has felt comfortable. Perhaps a little bit remodeled by the work that we were doing there. I'd like to find out how you're doing. I'll switch my camera so you can see me better. And how are you feeling?